Hi, and welcome to Living My Faith. That show where we spotlight individuals that are really living their faith. I'm your host, James Fenimore, and today we've got two very special guests for you. Joining me is Sheila Simpson and Arthur Barnes. Guys, how you doing?
Fine. How about you?
Oh, doing great. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Well, we start the show with one simple question, and Arthur, we are gentlemen, so we're going to start with Sheila.
Oh, wow.
Sheila, Sheila, how are you living your faith?
I'm having the privilege of being the executive director of Focus Marriage Ministries, which is a nonprofit, and we help all denominations actually with marriage preparation. We help provide resources and conversation with couples before they get married that lasts a lifetime. So we assist in helping build healthier marriages.
It's wonderful. What a wonderful, wonderful mission. Thank you so much
It
for
is.
sharing that, Sheila. Arthur, well, here's the good news about being a man. You get to know what questions coming your way now. So, Arthur, how are you living your faith?
So for me, living out my faith begins with stewardship. I try to be faithful to what God has placed in my hands, like my family, my voice, my relationships, my work, and every opportunity He gives me. Because for me, my faith isn't something I turn on the weekends. It's a lens through which I, try to make every decision of my life from day to day.
That's amazing. Stewardship is very important, especially when you're called to be the head of the house. There's a lot more important things we're stewarding then than we're stewarding when we're young single men, right?
Yes.
Speaking of single men, Sheila, question about the marriage ministry. Is it specifically for people that are about to get married, or do you also work with married couples maybe trying to just strengthen their marriage?
We do work on both sides. We work with preparing for marriage and then after marriage. We think that having that conversation, and we're all about conversation and teaching the skills to have conversation that then hopefully prevents crisis situations that happen. And having that conversation helps strengthen it. And it doesn't stop at the wedding. It continues on, through the life of your marriage. So we work with both sides.
That's wonderful, and I know how important that is because that keeps that line of communications open. I'm a big believer of Ephesians 5 marriages. It's very important to me, especially that the man keeps reading past women submit to your husbands, because we like to put the book down after that and go take a walk, because there's some important words that come after that. And Arthur, I would ask you, I know you have a coaching practice, so this probably may tie in a little bit because Sheila essentially is coaching marriages through Christ. Arthur, can you speak to your coaching practice a little bit?
So when I first started out my coaching practice, it was broad. I think it was too broad because I had a lot of different certifications, and those being like neuroscience coach and a mindset coach. And I decided, there was something that happened to me. It kind of like shifted everything. I got really sick, and in that process, you know, the text "Be still and know that I am God" really came into reflection because I had to really look at things differently, and God was really put me in a holding pattern to help me develop this work. It's been percolating all my life, but now what I do is I help and coach people around invisible architecture because a lot of times we see people, sometimes we'll see somebody on the news or whatever like that coming, unwound, and you're like, what's going on? And it's like, well, looking at it from, my coaching perspective, it's an invisible architecture problem. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we carry, as, kingdom builders or so forth, sometimes we carry so much, but we don't have the architecture underneath to support that. And so this is why we sometimes see cracks in individuals. We see the meltdowns and so forth. And it's not just about the foundation that we build upon. It's about what's up underneath the foundation because you can have a solid foundation. And if the things that's going up underneath is decrepit and so forth, that could collapse. It's just like trying to build a skyscraper on top of a shed.
Yep.
Foundation, it won't work. It won't work.
That's important work, Arthur. And I work with a lot of coaches. I was a coach. I still am in a lot of ways, but I work with coaches, help to get their word out there. And I could tell you, you're not alone. Most coaches I work with do the same thing in the beginning. They want to talk to everybody. And when you talk to everybody, you're usually talking to nobody. But it comes from a good place, right? You just want to help people. And that's why you get into the industry to begin with. You have a heart for the Lord, and He calls on us to make disciples and help people and love our brothers and sisters. So I can appreciate that. That's how I was too. Sheila, what kind of people do you see? You mentioned that you're across all denominations, which I think is incredible. When you see a couple come to you, whether it's right out of the gate, they're coming to get married, or maybe they've been married for a while. I don't want to call it a problem, but what's the most common thing that you see that needs? And again, I don't want to call it fixing. Needs improvement right away.
Well, first I want to explain our process. We build the resources that help our facilitators. They're the ones who actually meet with the couples, and we've got over 40,000 facilitators worldwide that the couples are meeting with directly.
Amazing.
So I don't meet with the couples directly. I couldn't meet that many, but that's how we reach out. We want to help more couples, so we tap into having facilitators. But I get to view all the data that results from that, and a lot of it is people not having the conversations or thinking they're having the conversation when they're not. One easy question is how much money can you spend at a store before you need to call the other person? Some people say 25, some people say 50. So they're probably pretty close in their financial goals. Some say, hey, I can go buy a boat and I don't need to ask you. That's probably going to be some problems going forward that they can work through, but they need to sit there and figure out some joint goals as far as finances moving forward. So a lot of it is they might have think they are on the same page with finances, but they're not. They haven't had the conversation to realize that maybe they're really worlds apart, which they can still come together, but they need to work at coming together so that they go forward, so that down the road that doesn't become something that breaks the marriage up, is not having the same financial goals. Because that can be, finance is a big stressor in marriage.
But you said it's at the core of it. It's still communication, right?
It is.
I feel like
it is. We'd like to say one conversation at a time can help a marriage.
Yeah, and I think when we break it down with everything, it's always communication. It's communication with our spouse, it's communication with our friends, it's communication with the Lord. Yes. That's what enhances all of our relationships. And I think that's what we really need to be doing more of, guys, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. This has been such a treat. I want you to know all your information is going to be right below this video. So Arthur, if people want to reach you for your coaching, or Sheila, if they're interested in learning about maybe what it takes to become a facilitator, or learning more about the organization, all your information will be right below this video. Nice. But I can't thank you enough for joining us today. It's been such a treat, really. I appreciate it so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of Sheila and Arthur, I'm James Fenimore. This has been Living My Faith. Can't wait to see you next time.